Hi, Hannah.
Hi, Jade.
I am so excited to finally have you on the podcast. I feel like this has been a long time coming. We've been connected for like a year or so. You are a real soul sister of mine, soul family, and one of the most gifted, intuitive psychics, spiritual teachers I know. You've taught me a lot already. And I can't wait for you to share your wisdom with our community today. So, hi, welcome.
Hi, my love. Thank you. My face already hurts from smiling. So this is gonna be a good chat.
It's going to be good. So, I would love for you to just share with everyone as we get started, who is Hannah? Big question. Who is Hannah? What's resonant present right now? Give us a little bit about your mission and your work right now, as well as the journey you've taken to get here.
Okay, buckle up.
Buckle up. Let's
Get
go.
your popcorn and your tea. My name's Hannah Stinson, and I am a spiritual teacher. I'm an Akashic guide. I'm honestly just like a witchy woman, a witchy being who I guess you could say I just really have a flair for like the mystical, but also I'm pretty ridiculous. So like just being weird and authentic. Um, I have, I'll share about who I am on a business level, but I love to share more of my passions first
Yes.
because as much as like my business is me, what keeps me to keep me present in my business are my passions. I love yoga. Yoga has been a practice for me that has kept me anchored and rooted and connected since I was 15 years old. Found myself in a Bikram studio at 15 and fell in love with yoga from there. Do I practice Bikram anymore? No, no, no. My yoga has definitely evolved over the years, but um, it has become more than a physical practice, right? It's a spiritual practice. It's a lifestyle that I really find myself living. I'm obsessed with tarot and oracle cards. Gosh, I mean, you can't see them right now. I could like turn my screen and you'd see all the different decks, but I have like 40. I try to cap myself at that so it doesn't get out of control. So when I hit over 40, I'm like, okay, what decks do I got to give away? Like what friends would resonate with these? What clients would want these? Um, I'm obsessed with aerial arts. So like pole dancing, aerial silks, aerial hoop. It's all priestess training too. Let me tell you, if I've ever experienced it, it is. And I just love like making people laugh and bringing people together and being in joy and um not necessarily forgetting the problems of our lives, but like not focusing on that, like really focusing on what is bringing us joy, what's lighting us up, what are our goals. Um, I really am happiest surrounded by kind-hearted humans that also want to live that way. Um, really, people who operate in negativity, I don't think they really like me. Like I've been told by friends that people who know me from my past like really like berate me still in old friend groups because of my positive energy and my optimism. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like that's great. I'm sad. I'm
You're
sorry
just
that
radiating.
you're so sad, right? Like that my happiness is bothering you, but those aren't my people, right? And so I think something that I've really learned on my journey is just recognizing, I'm going to be in my light. That doesn't mean that I'm not honoring the dark. The dark has been a big part of my journey. But that those who also want to, transmute the dark into light will find me in that capacity. Oh, little Jack has decided to say hi. I don't know if he'll jump up.
Hello.
He is such a spiritual being.
He
Anyway,
knows.
so yeah, that's like me in my free time. My husband and I love to be silly and make blanket forts and, like play with Lego and really like our inner childs just have the most fun together. It's also the most healing, having your husband be a reflection of that. But in
Just a real
my
human. You're just a real
yeah,
human.
right? Like, and I think, and something Jade, you and I have bonded over is the fact that our humanity and our human experience is part of the spiritual journey. And so often I think that's just taken out of it. And so something, oh, here's Jack. Um, something I've really had to learn is falling in love with my humanity, right? And I'll share obviously more why of that. But um, as Jade mentioned, I'm an expert in the Akashic Records, astrology, witchcraft, inner child healing, addiction healing, nervous system healing. And I really weave a lot of ancient wisdom with, I guess you could say, like modern embodiment.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the best way to describe it if I could say off the top of my head. But um, my work really helps not just women. I work predominantly with women, but I also work with a lot, like I've worked with non-binary folk, transgender folk. I've worked with men, children. Um, but I really want to help people just come back to a life of devotion and joy and trusting their bodies and remembering that healing doesn't always have to be heavy.
Yeah.
Like it can also be really sacred and also really silly.
Yeah.
And that's I think something I bring. I'm a very silly person. So like that infuses into my work. Like I used to really shut that down, but I'm starting to see more and more the more that I bring that into client sessions, the more that I bring that into my community, people just soften.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Mm-hmm.
think that like silliness shows also that humanity, right? And we so easily pedestal those we're learning from,
Yeah.
right? So I really believe we're all witches. That might be activating for some people, but like we really are. Like witch has just been turned into such a negative word, but like we're healers, we're sisters, we're mothers, daughters, creatrixes, as you like to say. Like
Mm-hmm.
I want everyone to feel safe to own that in their expression. And maybe, yeah, I get it. Some people are like, I just don't identify with witch. I just think you have more healing to do around your witch wound if you still don't identify with that word.
I feel like one way to put it, like if which at this moment doesn't fully identify with you, it's really just understanding that we all have deep, deep, deep magic. Magic that lives inside of every single one of us. And like magic that we can like really just like source and play with to create spells in this life.
Yeah, I love it. It's so true. And I mean, I think people don't even realize you're already connecting with what we would call like maybe a like the path of witchcraft. You don't even realize it, right? Like, and we're not here to talk about that, but part of why I identify so much with being a witch is the fact that I work with the seasons. I work with the earth. Like herbs and I are like this walking encyclopedia of herbs. Honestly, my sister and her boyfriend one time were just like naming things and they were like, "Hey Hannah, go." Like just to see, and they're not on a spiritual journey at all. So anyway, it's just fun. Like I all of that resonates so deeply in me, and like the reason I'm a walking encyclopedia of herbs is because coming back online to my memory of working with herbs in this life is just from all the past lives that I've already done it, right? So that's
Yeah.
why it's like it's so innate. So for so many of us, when we learn a new divinatory tool, or we learn something, maybe it's even like a sport or in college or university, like, and it clicks, like
Yeah.
that's because it's a past life gift.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love you so
And so I
much.
like helping people connect those dots.
Yes. I feel like the best way to describe you is you are just a very embodied, multidimensional being in this 3D world. You are very, very just multidimensional and you hold many, many facets. And it's one of the coolest things about you. I remember you teaching me about an herb that I'd never heard of in Ayurvedic tradition. And I started taking it for like a good few months and it helped.
Was
It was
it the,
Shatavari.
yeah, I was just gonna guess that. Oh, I love that. And
Yeah.
oh, thank you for trusting me with that.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was good.
beautiful.
And I did I'd like made the concoction you told me to make too with like like with milk and with cinnamon and like the
Yeah.
cloves and anyway, it was good. It was good.
Oh, such a drink, like such a divine feminine drink,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, And that's really what a lot of herbal medicine is coming back
Yeah.
into receivership, and opening ourselves up to the divine feminine in a way that I guess we could almost say like it's like passive spirituality, right?
Yeah.
Like so much of spirituality feels like it has to be so active, and I've found working with herbs has obviously become intuitive from just doing it for so long, but um they just speak to you. I don't know, like if once you're really attuned and open,
Yeah.
whether it's clairaudiency or not, like everything is speaking to you. Everything has a message.
Yeah.
It's all waiting for you. We
Yeah.
just have to feel safe in our bodies and be present with it. Because if we're not, it gets very misconstrued. And like I'll share
Mm-hmm.
from personal experience. Um, so I've been very connected, psychic, however we want to put it, for since I was young. And my mom always said, she said when I was born, my dad's friend saw me like I don't know a few hours after I was born, and he looked at me and he said, "She's an old soul.
Mm.
Like get ready for this old soul that you birthed." And of course, I was like, I was a miracle baby. My mom was actually going for a pre-op for her hysterectomy for her endometriosis, and they were like, no, you're actually 3 months pregnant, so we're not going to do the hysterectomy. And she was like, get it, you're joking. After her own, you know uh, her own journey with fertility and infertility.
Yeah.
So I was just waiting for the right moment to be like coming down, coming back earthside. And because I was connected from such a young age, I started to have a lot of experiences that I guess you could call paranormal, right? For like
Mm.
lack of a better term would be paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And I can think of the first time I saw a UFO. I was 5 years old. Um, so that was my first time experiencing like intergalactic consciousness, which has been an incredible journey. I
Did you
have
know it was a
memories.
UFO?
Pardon?
Did you know it was a UFO when you
Yeah,
saw it
my
at 5 years
dad
old?
was there. So it was my dad, my cousin, and I, and
Ah.
we had a cottage outside of Kenora, which is in Ontario in Canada, at Willard Lake, and we were out at night for a walk. And then the craft, like we all saw it, showed up over the lake. And I just remember my dad grabbing me, throwing me over his shoulder, and grabbing my cousin by the hand, and just we ran back to the cabin. And obviously that was his fear,
Yeah.
right? But I
Mm-hmm.
just remember being like, I couldn't close my eyes. He kept saying, close your eyes, and I just couldn't. I just looked at it, and it felt like a remembering, a homecoming. I was like, these my friends. Like, why are we running away from my friends? Yeah.
Wow. I didn't
So
know
that
that.
was my
Incredible.
first experience, and I think that really opened me up. So before I switched to, and I've never spoken about this publicly before, but before I switched to private school, so I went to an all-girls school from grade 4 to 12, I was in public school. And I remember being a part of these like studies or something. I don't remember my parents ever signing off on this, but these people would come into the school and I would go into this very small room and they would ask me to like watch these weird videos and listen to noises. And it, there's a name for it now. Like there's a lot of stuff that has come out, especially on Gaia about it, of like these as kids knowing that they were psychic and connected and bringing you into these projects
Mm.
that a lot of that was wiped from my memory until I started doing this deep healing work to recover, right? And I learned that that was part of me being exposed to the UFO at 5 was part of the reason I was in this. And there was a couple other kids from the
Ah.
school that were a part of it too, but it was all random.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have goosebumps.
Yeah, so that was from like
Okay.
grade 1 to 3.
Okay.
And then when I got my period when I was 11, it just all came fully online. Like a lot of which is really common at Menarch for women to start to have these very spiritual psychic experiences. And I was really lucky that my stepmom, the woman my dad was with for quite some time, she was psychic and she was super connected. So she could tell what was happening and she was very nurturing in it and very holding in it. My dad was very open. My parents are divorced. Um, so I was held in it. I was nurtured in it. So I started at like 11 years old doing seances in graveyards. I mean, by the time I was in grade 7, I got in trouble at school for doing seances at the lunch hour. So I started to interact with other beings that had basically not crossed over. So what we would call ghosts. Okay. And I was having a lot of experiences. And at the time, the best frame of reference I had was the paranormal, was ghosts. Right. I mean, also in grade 7, I wrote a paper on how I wanted to be a parapsychologist, which is someone who studies ghosts. So I was like devoted to this at such a young age. And, um, at the time, I didn't know it, but I was like just coded in trauma, right? Like I had a lot
Yeah.
of abuse happen at a young age that, as most young children who go through abuse before their subconscious mind has fully developed, compartmentalize, block out. Like it wasn't until I wrote my book in 2020 that all of the memories of everything came back. I was also in EMDR therapy at the time, which was helping me process a lot of it too.
Yeah.
And looking back now, I'm like, oh, I was in such a sympathetic state that the paranormal experiences that were happening around me and to me and, through me was the divine. But because I was living in sympathetic, I couldn't relate to it as a divine experience.
Right.
It was paranormal.
Yeah.
And most parapsychologists will agree that anything that's a ghost, a poltergeist, these things that we see in Hollywood and the media, like that's trapped energy and trauma.
Oh, interesting.
If you are being haunted, it's most likely something in your own psyche and subconscious
That you're
that's being
projecting.
projected so viscerally in your field to make you look at what the pain that you're ignoring. And so when I started drinking as a way to cope with all these unprocessed emotions and trauma at 15, by the time I was in my early 20s, I was an alcoholic. I was having crazy things happening to me. And it was because my energy was vibrating at such a low frequency. So I was
Yeah.
attracting a lot of that energy, right? Seeing it reflected back to me, but not able to realize that that was my own shit.
And also being someone who's so just sensitive
Yeah,
to energy and
mhm,
somatically sensitive as well. So you were just
totally. And
attuned to all of it,
and
being
picking up
projecting
stuff
back.
that I had no idea, right? Like
Yeah.
it, an example of how it kind of moves through me now, like my partner and I, we were out on the weekend. We decided to take the train downtown. I had to go pick up some books at this bookstore. And I now, because I'm so conscious of everything within myself, I'm not someone who goes into like public spaces with a lot of people often because I'm
Yeah.
so sensitive. And there was a lot happening, okay, on the train and the people, and we were coming home and we were waiting for the train, and there was this guy walking by. And oh my gosh, the entities that were attached, and they recognize, they see when I know they know I can sense.
Yeah.
And my whole body just goes, "Ah!" Like I have to just let it out because otherwise it will get stuck.
Latch onto you.
Yeah. And so it's been a big lesson of like, that is not mine, that is not mine, that is not mine. And it's not just
Yeah.
with spiritual work and like these energies, it's my human
Yeah.
relationships
Yeah.
too. Right? I used to be like, "Oh, I'm just an empath." No, I just didn't have boundaries.
Can you speak a little more to that to people who do identify themselves as like, like the empath thing, the HSP thing? It's like it's true. You can be an
Yes.
HSP. But how do you know when you're taking on energy that isn't yours, and when you're kind of just carrying a lot of different cords and implants that are attached to you. What do you do? How do you know?
I mean, that's like you have to have a level of self-awareness, I believe, to know and be to recognize um that you have been a little porous and you've picked up other things, like for me, and it's going to be so unique to all of us because we all process that like information differently. But for me, if all of a sudden, like, I mean, I am a Cancer moon, so I cycle through emotions like, 7,000 emotions in 1 minute. But I do find that if all of a sudden I'm like really angry or irritable or sad, and it kind of comes out of left field, and I just had an interaction with someone in the last like hour, really checking in, because usually it's not mine.
Yeah.
It happens most with my husband, duh, like the closest person in my life, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's actually really good, like prompt for people listening. What's happening with the closest people in your life, right? Like how is
Mm.
your energy? How do you feel after
Yeah.
certain conversations or interactions? Because you don't know what they're operating in. And most likely, and I say this with love, our loved ones are in dysregulation and they don't
Yeah.
even recognize it. So having that awareness to check in with ourselves, right? I mean, also like I feel like so many people in your community listening are intuitives, are healers and practitioners. Like we often forget to use our resources and tools on ourselves because we're
Yes.
so used to
Yes.
using them with others.
Guilty as charged.
Right, same. And so when I am not
Mm.
consistent with that,
Yeah.
it really affects my body. And then I'm sick. I'm having a flare up with my endometriosis. I'm having indigestion, whatever, right? Like it for
Yeah.
me communicates so loudly through my body.
Yeah.
Um, but the other thing I want to say to that is where are you using being an empath as an excuse or a protector to not sit with the ways that maybe you've self-sabotaged or self-sacrificed or you're still people pleasing or you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the harder thing to look at
Yeah.
because we have to get really radically honest. And it's easier to just say, well, I'm an empath and I'm feeling everybody's emotions and it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
We also like that's safe for empaths. It's actually safer for us to feel everyone else's shit than to be with our own.
A lot of it is conditioning. It's just childhood conditioning.
Yeah. We
And
don't know
it's
otherwise.
we don't know otherwise, and it's easier to not take that responsibility of having to go in and say, maybe I actually do have the courage and I do have the power to draw boundaries
And
in a loving
often
way.
like we have to be held in that. I feel
Yeah.
like when I've been moving through, especially earlier on my journey, these big shifts of these big shifts in identity and how that impacts the relationships around me, those I am in relation with,
Mm.
being held in maintaining the boundaries, holding the boundaries, right?
Yeah.
It's just so helpful, imperative, like
Yeah.
necessary because if we're not used to doing that, it's just so scary. So it's really easy for us to just go back to the comfortability of what we know.
Yeah.
And we all do this. I do this.
Yeah.
I'll give you like 7 examples from this week. But, it's again having that awareness and
Hmm.
um, being an empath is such a gift. And I think at the end of the day, we are all able to connect with that energy of empathy,
Yeah.
whether we
Mm-hmm.
believe we're psychic or intuitive or not. And that empathy is the gateway to spiritual expansion, I believe. One of them. One of them.
Well, that just really landed. I'm like sitting with that. Empathy is one of the main gateways to spiritual expansion. Yeah.
Hmm.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're
That
welcome.
just that just took off in a direction that I love.
I'm glad that was spirit. I've
Love
never said
that.
that
Love that.
before.
Love that. Love that. So beautiful. Okay. I have a couple things I want us to touch on today. But before we get into that just yet, I did want to ask you a little more about just, what I'm really feeling as you're sharing about all of these different dimensions that you work with and different fields that you're interested in, right? We started with herbs, and then we're talking about witchcraft, and then we were talking about the nervous system, and then there's the like energy piece, just all of it. Um, Thinking about how to put this question. Um, how how have you really given yourself permission to explore the way you explore and dive into your passions the way that you dive into them? Because I feel like for maybe some people listening, being in this path of spiritual exploration, there can, number one, be some taboos in the beginning that you're kind of grappling with. And sometimes people don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And so how like what was your path in getting started with that? I suppose you kind of explained that from childhood. But yeah, just tell us more.
I think curiosity is the biggest
Yeah.
piece, right? It's like, oh, you're curious about that. There's something happening there for you. Curiosity to me, I liken it to like the awakened inner child,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? This like very curious, like playful, like or like if you're familiar with the tarot, very fool like energy.
Yeah.
Um, and it's almost just like this like, what if I just tried?
Mm.
What if I just tried? I have failed a lot in my experience. And I think failing a ton, being really bad at stuff growing up, like honestly, like kind of just like struggling. I didn't do well in school, like having all these experiences that in the mainstream I didn't fit in these boxes, right? But then there was these things outside of the boxes, right? That I was like, but this interests me. But can I go for that?
Yeah.
Right? And I was lucky that I had a lot of people in my life growing up that nurtured that. I think that's the biggest thing is that I grew up with many. I grew up with a village, like having divorced parents and having my dad move away when I was quite young, and my mom being a single mom. Like I can name probably 10 different people who helped raise me when my mom was a single mom, right?
Mm.
So I was put in all these different communities from such a young age, just experiencing learning from people that I probably wouldn't have had as
Mm.
a caregiver or as what I would look at the time as an elder, right?
Beautiful.
And so there was always, and I realize I'm so grateful and blessed about this, but there was always someone who I had curiosity and they said, tell me more.
Uh-huh.
So that has been really helpful for me. And also just like failing and trying again and failing and trying again and failing and trying again. And maybe like those listening, if you grew up playing a sport or you grew up in, like I was a dancer. So those listening, like you remember, like
Mm.
took how long it took you to nail a move or to learn that trick or whatever it was. And maybe you fell down, maybe you got hurt, but you just kept getting up. You kept getting up because the curiosity and the joy it brought you was more than the discomfort that was
Yeah.
coming with it. Right. And so that has been such a breadcrumb for me my whole life to continue to follow those instead of forcing myself to be where I don't want to be. And my dad, from a very young age, he always said, "The world is your oyster. The world is your oyster," and that has been in my mind since 7 or 8. So to
Yeah.
have that, I have wounding. Don't get me wrong. There's lots that I've had to work through, but having that at the back of my head, and he also told me at a young age, "Do what you love, and the money will come."
I love that.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is not normal. That is
No,
not
it's not.
typical.
And I had the opposite with my mom and stepdad who were telling me I needed to be a lawyer, I needed to be a doctor, I needed to be an architect, I needed to be something that would, I remember my mom saying at 16, you're not going to be able to fund your lifestyle. And she told me it many times, like, oh, you're going to have to work 3 jobs to be able to do what you, to be able to live the way you want to
Right.
live and all these different things. So I had on one side my dad being very, because he's very creative, and very open to just having faith. And my mom, who, is her own wounding and her own trauma that, and parents always want the best for us. They want us to be stable. They want us to be healthy and happy and all the things. But my dad wasn't consistent in my life growing up, so I ended up being raised more by my mom and my stepdad. So when my addiction started at 15 was the same time when I stopped living with my dad. So funny how those two things happened. And
Huh.
so that masculine holding I was getting, that true divine masculine, because I would say as much as my dad has a lot to heal still, you've met him. Like he does
Mm-hmm.
feel very embodied in his masculine.
Yeah.
I then needed to find that in alcohol.
Yeah.
And then I realized when I started drinking,
Yeah.
oh my God, this just numbs everything. This is great.
It's something that we've bonded over as well.
Right?
Our journeys with
And
alcohol.
so,
Yeah.
long story long, the curiosity and the breadcrumbs are so helpful. And also just giving yourself permission to fail and be a beginner and try again.
Mm-hmm.
Because we live in a world now with such instantaneous gratification that we don't let ourselves be beginners, or we claim we're experts long before we actually are.
Yeah.
And why are we rushing? Like, why? Truly, those listening, like, why are you rushing? That's a sympathetic state. Like, if we were to expand our timelines, if we were like, hey, you're going to get famous today for every single thing you know, millions and millions of people are going to know you. Would you actually want to get famous today for for all the things you know?
No.
No.
No, that's my answer.
Right?
No,
And
I
no,
know.
usually it is no. And how beautiful, because that gives us
Mm-hmm.
permission to enjoy the journey,
Yeah.
enjoy the process. Stop trying to get to that goal, get to
Yeah.
where you're done. I don't mean to be morbid when I say this. I am a Scorpio, so I'm a bit morbid, but like the end is you dead. The end is you no longer in this human vessel. Like then you've moved on, and that's beautiful. But like, why are we rushing to that?
Yeah. And we're losing the present moment in the rushing, which is actually all there is. And that's where the divine lives too.
Yeah. And so then it's almost like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
so then if we're following the breadcrumbs, okay, in this present moment, dropping into our heart, what do we actually want? Let the
Yeah.
heart continue to guide and just let it be fun and playful. I mean, because I think, growing up being a dancer, I always had community when it came to fitness, right? Like it was always like, you're doing it together, you're in it together. And so when I started yoga, it was like, oh, here's community again. This is beautiful. Obviously, you can practice yoga on your own. But as I got older and I
Mm-hmm.
shifted out of those places, I started to think I got to go to the gym. And this is just a very basic example, but I'm like, I got to work out, go to the gym. And, I was trying to force myself into these places that I have no business being in the gym. You know what I mean? Like, that's not for me. And so I started exploring pole dancing. I started exploring, like, circus arts, like dance again, all these different things that they just bring me joy. And guess what? I'm working out and having, it's like helping with fitness. All the good things are happening with it. And so I share that as that example of like, where are you trying to fit yourself into that
Yeah.
box that just isn't in alignment?
Yeah.
I know for a fact I will never be a runner. The only time you will catch me running is towards a sale.
It's so fun. I literally love you.
Like I hate it. I hate it. But like
Yeah.
I could go and dance for an hour straight in 5-inch heels, and most people would be like, you do that, but you won't run?
Yeah.
But that brings me joy. That lights me up. I don't even
Yeah.
realize I'm doing cardio.
Yeah. I mean, we're always just, I feel like, I think in the world that we live in, there's just so much black and white. There's so much this is a thing that's good for you. You hear that this is good. There's so much information that we're absorbing all the time too, right? There's Instagram and it's telling you like, do this, do that. And it's like, this is good, this is bad, don't do this, do that. And in all of that, we get swept up and we actually forget to just tune into our bodies and ask ourselves, okay, does this actually feel good for me? Understanding that what feels good for you is actually probably what is good for you.
It's so true. It's so true. I know. And we are so bombarded
Yeah.
with information. We're constantly consuming whether we like it or not. That's just like the world we've been conditioned into, as much as things are shifting, and we always have the power to shift our reality, right? So we don't have to be caught up in the drama of the 4D, because that's what it is, right? Like 3D gets such a bad rap, and I'm done with it. I'm done with it. The 3D is the physical manifestation. The 3D is how we're here having this conversation. Like the 4D is where the archetypes live, right? So when we get caught up in the I don't want to like necessarily call them negative archetypes, but you know what I'm trying to say, right? Like when we get caught up in that energy and that consciousness in the 4D, that's when things get blocked and we can't allow the 5D frequency to
Yeah.
exist with us in the 3D.
I'm just nodding for those of
Yeah.
you listening. I'm nodding. I mean, it's essentially just it's the difference between living in the unconscious 3D, or living in the 3D with unconscious perception of the 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D and above, versus
Yeah.
we're living in the 3D, but if you're open and aware of it all, actually all being here, including the 10D, we're still living in the 3D.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It couldn't manifest otherwise.
It couldn't. At least not on
Not
this
as we
planet.
know it. Not
Yeah,
as
not
we
on
know
this
it.
planet.
Yeah, not as we know it. As a physical manifestation, which is why we're so incredible, like why we're so phenomenal. Humans, we're so phenomenal. There's nothing else like us in the solar system, and yet
Yeah.
we're like, oh, I'm a human.
We hate being human. I hate
Yeah,
being human.
like
I've done
Starship,
that too.
take me up.
We chose to be here. And it's something I've been feeling into recently, is like really understanding like the emotionality and like the dark textures that are so human doesn't exist elsewhere. That's exactly what you said. Like it's like the dark textures that we're often like that we have kind of been attuned to think is gross or disgusting or shameful. Like it's just neutral and it's actually just beautiful anyway.
It is. And how we respond to it.
Yeah.
And again, like it
How we
goes back
see
to like
it.
you said conditioning. We're conditioned to have aversion.
Yeah.
When
Aversion or addiction.
yes, or
Either
when we
or.
could just have curiosity. Be curious.
Be curious like the awakened inner child. I love that so
Yeah,
much.
my favorite, one of my favorite archetypes. But something that I am gonna just like shift us towards the Akashic field and Akashic
That's
Records. I feel like that's where
perfect. What I
yeah,
was gonna do.
read your mind.
That's where I was gonna go.
Um, this is why I'm so passionate about the Akashic Records and the Akashic field, is because it does support us in coming back into our innate energy, our soul language, right? It gives us agency and connects us back to our innate power. And it is a tool of soul remembrance, right? And it really is the most ancient healing tool on the planet. And the fact that so many of us can experience this, like, well, anyone actually, like, not one person in the world who's exempt from experiencing the magic of the Akashic Records. But there's a difference between, like, being in the Akashic field, reading the Akashic Records, healing in the Akashic Records. Like, there's so many different facets to it. But to break it down for those listening, if you're like, Akashic, what? I mean, it's become a pretty big buzzword. So I think everyone by now in these communities knows. When I started this work in 2021, it was still a little bit kind of like people were like, what are you talking about? Um, but the Akashic field is a frequency, it is a consciousness. It operates in the 5D and higher. Like, I don't know, dimensions don't work that way, so it's
Higher,
hard to,
deeper.
right? Higher, deeper goes to 10th, 11th, beyond. And so we can be in the Akashic field and we can be living and operating in that frequency, and maybe we don't even know it, right? Because you think of 5D, that's the frequency of love. That's unity consciousness. So when you are with your girlfriends and you're laughing and you're drinking maybe wine, I don't know, like you're just feeling soulful, like you're actually connecting with the Akashic field. When you are deep in meditation and you're feeling like just the expansiveness of all that is, right? You're tapping into that Akashic field. When you are making love to your partner, like you are tapping into the Akashic field. So this idea that we have to do or be something different to tap into this energy is absolute bullshit, and people are paying people way too much money to just like learn that it's a frequency.
Coming from an Akashic teacher.
Oh yeah,
Everyone listening.
I'll say that. I don't want
Yeah.
anyone to like, and because when you work with me, we go to the depths and the levels that like I can't even explain here because it's so personal and it's so intuitive and it's so based on who are the beings that all came together for that cohort. Like it shifts every time. It becomes its own entity and own energy. But I share that about the Akashic field because I want people to recognize that this isn't something that's out, that something that they have to work hard. Like you've already been tuning in. Um, I've taught a lot of Reiki practitioners and Reiki masters how to read their own Akashic records, and they always are like, "Oh, I've seen this gold door." And they're like, "I haven't gone through it, but I've seen it." I'm like, "Cool." And not everyone uses a gold door, right? To connect with that energy. That's just the prayer that I work with. Um, but being in our Akashic records is we really do have to be in the Akashic field. So there's people who read the Akashic records that do not go into the field beforehand, and I would say that's really problematic because there's a lot of ego that then comes in. There's a lot of bias. There's a lot of unconscious shit just like being filtered through, and I know this because the first prayer that I ever learned um did not always the prayer did not include any sort of grounding and nervous system regulation or bringing us into the body. It was, let's just say the prayer and go outside of us into this
Yeah.
field, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at the time, I still had some belief that spirituality was an ascension and was going to be outside of myself and I had to be out of this body, right? And so it was about 8 months into having taught myself to read the records and having really gone hard. I mean, in the first 30 days I went in every day for myself, and then the second 30 days I read for 44 people in 30 days.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
This is that used to be an old pattern of mine. Let's just do it all. And I did that, and I'm so glad I did because it just opened me up, right? Having to being in so many different people's Akashic records, seeing so many different things, experiencing all these different timelines, dimensions, ancestors. It brought everything that I had done up into that point with my psychic development into one bubble of the Akashic
Uh-huh.
field. And so it landed so deeply in me because it was like, oh my God, this is what I've been searching for to hold everything that I do. So, but again, 8 months in, I was like feeling really disconnected from the body, and I was like, something's gotta give. So I ended up finding, or she found me, Divine connected us, Tara Preston, who runs the Akashic Women's School, fell in love with her. Her prayer and the way she teaches is very embodied. Working at the level of the body, working at the level of subconscious, level of the womb. And I ate it up. I was salivating. I just couldn't get enough. I did all of her trainings and certifications. To the point where now, like, I teach others how to read their own Akashic records, and soon I'll be certifying others to read the Akashic records for clients in their business, which is like a dream, because I'm so passionate about this work, and
Yeah.
I am not. I'm not attached to any of the work I do in the sense of like it is mine. You don't share that. You have to pay me to share that. Like fuck that. That's just not that's such old paradigm and it's not me. And I want everyone to just if you freaking really like loved something about something you learned with me, like go shout it from the rooftop. Share with everyone you
Yeah.
know. Because
I
if they're
love
meant to
that.
be with me and work with me and find me, they will.
Yeah.
But that's spirit wanting to then communicate through you to your
Mm-hmm.
communities.
Mm-hmm.
So working in the Akashic records in my field, let me soften into that. Because if we're thinking about the Akashic field as this divine consciousness, we could liken it to Shakti, to the divine feminine, right? To Shiva, to the divine masculine, to a place, quotations, where we can actually be held in divine feminine and divine masculine love. And in that,
Mm-hmm.
we start to attune to a new frequency the more that we can allow ourselves to work with that. Um, and there's nothing you can't do in your Akashic records. I mean, you'll be told no, you'll be told not right now,
Yeah.
right? There's so many things I hear for clients that I don't tell them. Sometimes they
Yeah.
get really mad at me and I'm like, cool. Like, yeah, I'm not saying that. Like your guides were very clear that that's for you to find out. That is not for me to share.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the past I would share everything. And that
Yeah.
wasn't helpful. That wasn't supportive for people. That was
Yeah.
not giving them agency or autonomy. That
Yeah.
was putting me on a pedestal and making them come back to me and pay me more money and giving psychics and mediums and healers a bad name because that, again, is old paradigm way of
Yeah.
working with this energy. The Akashic field will always give us what we need in that given time
Mm.
and always support us in taking steps towards our sacred soul path. And that can be really scary. So sometimes when we work in our Akashic records, like we receive a lot of information, but then we don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like anything, if we don't integrate, what's the point?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun. I mean, I like, as some of my clients say, they're like, could we live here like rent free? Like, I wish, but also I don't wish because then I wouldn't be able to embody and let whatever's happening and being shown to me in the field live through me.
It's meant to be used. Like that's the point of
Yeah.
it. It's meant to be used.
Yeah.
And I will say that yesterday, Hannah gave me an Akashic reading slash healing in the Akashic records in the Akashic field. And I have never had a reading like that ever in my life before. And I read the records. It was actually mind blowing and so much loving, loving, loving information came through, and so many things that just kind of clicked into place and made connections in my head. And I'm still kind of integrating it. And what I will say is, right after a session, I texted one of my closest friends here in Vancouver, and I was like, I just had. She asked if I wanted to go to breathwork at her house, and I was like, I'm not feeling that. I'm just gonna like take a salt bath and go for a walk tonight because I just had the most incredible reading with my incredible soul sister friend. It's sad she doesn't live in Vancouver because you would love her. But I basically was like, yeah, I had this incredible Akashic reading and I'm integrating. And she was like, oh, she like works with spirit a lot, but like not with the Akashic field much. And she was like, that's amazing. Wait, does that mean that she could read my future? So this is the question I want to ask you. Very basic question, but does it mean that you can read people's future?
Totally, totally. I mean, I get like hesitant to have people get attached to that because we have free will and free choice. And so
Yeah.
if I'm as a psychic, I could read your future with tarot. I could read your future right now with just my intuition.
Yeah.
But how you take that information and then go and integrate and respond and you make choices in your life is whether you're going to get to what I've seen or not, because what
Yeah.
I'm tuning into is what's happening in the present moment. Now, that being said, I have predicted people getting into specialized programs, getting pregnant, having babies, getting married, getting proposed, getting a divorce, all those big things. Oh my God, I saw the queen dying a year before she did, and I told my friends, "Queen's gonna die on this date next year." She did
On that day.
on that exact day.
Good hell.
So yes, we can tune into that, but the thing that I love to do more with people in their Akashic records is take them on a future self timeline so they can meet with their future self, so they can interact with their future self and have a conversation. What do you feel into? Let me hold that space, right? Because I could tune into all that stuff for you, but like if you're not feeling it in your body, it's
Yeah.
not, doesn't matter. That's why usually it doesn't land the same way. So I work with future self work in the records very specifically. Um, I actually have a really fun offer right now called Seeds of 2026, where I'm combining tarot and the Akashic records. I do a year ahead tarot reading, 16 card spread. It is incredibly in depth. And then we do a future self activation where you're connecting with your future self a year from now, and then she's guiding or they're guiding you back, and you're going through all of the energy
Oh,
we just talked about in the reading to see how they're going to support you through what's come up.
okay, beautiful. That offer is still on right now.
That's on till March 6th. So
Okay,
it's on till
lovely.
just after the Lunar New Year.
Amazing. Okay, that will be in the show notes if you are interested in that, because even I am interested in
Yes.
that. Coming right out of Akashic reading with Hannah, I'm like, okay, give me a
Well, we
tarot
didn't do
reading now.
any. I mean, we tapped into your future self, but we didn't like do that, you know.
We were
Um,
working a lot with past lives and
Yes,
things.
yes, and that's the thing. Like we can tap into all of that. But the thing is, like what I do as a reader and teacher in the Akashic Records is I'm gonna bring you back to the here and now every single time, right? I'm
Yeah.
gonna make sure, especially if you work with me long term. I've had clients who get so attached. They're like, "Well, I was this healer in this past life, and blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Cool, cool." But like, how is that wounding from that past life still affecting your subconscious right now? Because
Yeah.
that is what I want to look at. That is what I want us to work through.
Yeah.
Because we'll just hold on to that, like,
The
you
ego
know,
part of it, like the
yeah,
golden thing about it, and we're like,
yeah.
our
And
ego
so
attaches.
sometimes, you know, I have a lot of people that come to me and they have one reading and they get it's profound and they tell me that and then but they never come back because
Hmm.
they don't want to go to the depths. They don't want to, they're not ready. I shouldn't say they don't want to. They're just not at that point in their journey. So, you know, those who do work with me long term are in my high level containers, they just see such transformation because every session we are going into the field, right? We're being
Yeah.
held in that energy, we're connecting in the Akashic records. And it
Yeah.
does accelerate time because we're not, and I did time in quotations for those listening, because time is a man made construct and it doesn't exist. And when we're in the Akashic field, we're tapping into all energy existing all at once, kind of, you know, like we talk about just being in the present. All of it is
Yeah.
existing in the here and now. And then it's how we, again, process, integrate, work with that information outside of the records in
Beautiful.
our human experience.
Beautiful. It all comes back to the human experience. That is the point. We're here to guide you into your human experience. Hannah is here to guide you as a spiritual being into your human experience. Okay, can you share a little bit more about? I know you have, you mentioned it, the Akashic certification mentorship with you.
Share
Tell
more.
us about it. Tell us about it.
So I have a few ways you can step into Akashic work with me, especially if you want to read your own records. So my Akashic Wisdom program is a 3-month program where I teach you how to read your own records. That starts up again Monday, March 2nd. So we'll make sure to share that with Jade for the show notes. But um, that is where you start to learn the same prayer that I have been working with, the Flower of Life Akashic Healing Method, very womb centered, very body based. Um, it is an intense mentorship. There is homework, right? Integration, right? I do keep you accountable to it so that we can really see the growth. The biggest piece of feedback I've received from that program, because ran that for a couple of years now. I've taught over 25 women how to read their own Akashic records in that program.
Wow.
Um, is how connected they are to their intuition. Like they're no longer doubting, is it my anxiety? Is it my intuition? Right. And
Mm,
especially those who've stayed consistent with the Akashic records, like it's phenomenal. And so then if you want to go further and you want to then certify and read for others and bring it into your business, that starts in May. I
beautiful.
haven't solidified those dates, but it's going to start in May of this year. And then I do one-on-one mentorship. So I have a couple clients who work with me right now. They're in a 12-month mentorship, and I'm teaching them to read their records, teaching them how to read for others. And, it's
Beautiful.
pretty much those group programs, but in a one-on-one capacity.
Beautiful.
So fun. So fun. I love doing it. I love it all. I really
Beautiful.
love it all. And then you want a reading like Jade had yesterday, there's that option too. But, um, I'm all over the place. If you're in Edmonton, if you're in Alberta, come to Wild Roses Festival in July. Come see me there for my Wands of the Wild workshop. And if you're near Golden, BC in June for Earth Daughters, come see me there. I'll be working with the young maidens, also doing my Witch Wand workshop with girls ages 7 to 17, which I'm really excited about.
Epic. You've got a year ahead, girl.
Oh gosh, oh gosh. I'm in a
Oh
year
my
7
gosh.
in numerology, so
Mm-hmm.
it's making sense. It's really making
All
sense.
clicking.
So it's fun, it's exciting. Well, Jade, this was so nourishing. I loved this conversation. I love being in your energy. I love your podcast. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your insight and your journey and your truth. And I love you very, very much. This has been so fun. And yeah, to everyone listening, connect with Hannah. If something kind of dropped in through a conversation today that you would love to chat with Hannah about, I'm
Yeah,
sure her DMs are open. You can send
voice
her
note.
a DM, a voice note. She's the best. And yeah, if any of her offers also spoke to you, all of the info is down in the show notes. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.